Welcome to the episode 2 of the Warranty Whisperer. We've got about 10, 15 people here on the Google Meet side, but about 360, 70 people on the YouTube live channel. So no pressure on you at all, but we kind of went over the questions already. Just want to kind of get your introduction. If you could kind of give us a little bit of a bio, where you came from, how you got here, and go from there.
Absolutely. Well, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what part of the country you're from. I'm Michael Sosa. I'm actually the client support manager for Head Start Warranty Group. And my role there is basically I deal with a lot of the back end stuff with our agents and agencies, dealers, supports our dealerships. Any of the little gritty stuff on the back end, I help with onboarding, so on and so forth. I report directly to our president, Joe Colucci, also with Rob Davenport. Work alongside with our truck programs, just a little bit of everything on the back end to kind of keep the table, I guess, stable, you can say. A little bit of background myself. I got into the industry very young. I was just a car crazy kid, taking Power Wheels and Hot Wheels apart. My first job was at Toys R Us, building bikes and Power Wheels at 15. And I just started tinkering and I said, you know what? I want to do that. So, I did the whole thing, tech school in high school. Then I did actual 1-year technical school. So I got my degree in that in technical automotive technology. Started working from a company in New Jersey. That's where I'm a New Jersey native. A company called Strauss Discount Auto. And just kind of like everybody else, I worked my way up. I was an oil changer. And by the time I left the company, I was a service manager. So just, worked my way up there. Then I moved from Jersey to Florida. Then from there, I was working as a service technician for Nissan for many years. This was right around the time when the market, was kind of a little bit of craziness. So as anybody in this industry knows, you're all commission based. So I took the plunge. I had the opportunity to open my own business and I did it. I opened up my own shop. It was called JMA Auto. And I did a little bit of everything on auto work. So just normal repairs coming in and out. Did that for about 5 or 6 years. Actually, with my wife, I taught her everything I know about the auto business. And that woman will sell ketchup to somebody in white hands. I promise you. Big shout out to Jenny. Love you, girl. But after that, we kind of wanted to start the whole family thing. And at that time, it was still kind of hard to really, get some mortgages and all that stuff. So I decided to sell the business. I got a call the next day from Assurant, actually. They were like, hey, I see you have automotive experience. What about being an adjuster? I said, well, I've done it on one side. Let me go ahead and do it on this side. So same thing, kind of like when you work in the field as a technician, you start from the bottom, you work your way up. So I was with Assurant for a couple of years, started as, level 1 adjuster, worked my way up to basically lead assistant manager for Assurant. I left there after about 5 or 6 years, and I linked up with a company out here in Tampa called Specialty Administration Services, or Truckmaster Warranty. That's actually where I met one of my mentors. Actually, was Rob Davenport. I met him there. Me and him collaborated, and we literally, with our knowledge of the big industry, we basically pushed that company to a big selling platform. Worked with him for a couple of years on a lot of the back end stuff, claims management, working with underwriters, et cetera, et cetera. He taught me a lot on rating and things of that nature, kind of prepared me for my career now. And anyway, so I linked up with him a little bit with HSWG. We were looking to grow. They were looking for more people, and it just worked great. So for the last 2 to 3 years now, I've been working with HSWG, and it's been great. I started off as the claims manager. And then I had the opportunity to come into my role now, which is, again, client support manager, and just using my knowledge of the negotiation, talking with shops and all that good stuff. And that's what I do. And honestly, I quite enjoy it.
Michael, that's you touched on your background. You got a 360-degree view of the industry, and which is one of the reasons why we wanted you to participate in episode 2 here today. Because you relate to the service side. You relate to the people who turn a wrench. You relate to the people who are boots on the ground, who are making those phone calls into the claims department. You relate well on the other side in empathizing with where they're coming from, and you're able to work within the system. I've had an opportunity to work with you on a few occasions when we've tried to work through a claim, and it's nothing but, I want to give you a shout out publicly and personally. It was nothing but a positive experience. It didn't go exactly the way that I wanted it to, but hey, I understand when at the end of the day, it was a fair representation, was fair for both sides. And that I think is the part of it. Is sometimes they'll go 100% your way, sometimes they may not, but there's always a way that you're willing to work through that. So I appreciate that willingness to work in that side of it. And we really want to communicate that to everybody on that's listening to us today, is that this is not an unusual situation. Michael does an exceptional job. That is true, but you're going to find that in most cases in this industry, there is someone like Michael at every administrator that is willing to work with you. So try not to get frustrated. Try in order to get have an open line and a dialogue of communications. Let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk about today. As everyone knows, we're going to basically break down warranties or service contracts. Warranties completely different than service contracts. We're going to break down service contracts in three areas here. Service contracts we know are exclusionary coverage. We know them as stated component. We know them as powertrain. So not all service contracts are created equal. Even within the exclusionary coverage, there's items that one administrator may or may not cover. There's differing labor rates. There's different parts of it. There's a lot of nuances in each particular warranty. So knowing that not all warranties are created equal, this creates a frustration for the service advisors and the service writers of the industry to go, hey, help me out here. Hold on a sec. Help me out here in order to understand that. And I think that once you open that dialogue. So Michael, the question that I do have for you as a long-winded explanation to get to the question is, what are the three items that you need in order to effectively adjudicate a claim? What is it that you're looking for specifically in order to do that? We'll get into the how a little bit later, but what are you looking for most?
I mean, the most important thing, you got to build it on a good structure. And as a claims administrator, is cause, complaint, and the correction. You're going to hear that.
Say that again for me.
It's going to be the cause, the correct complaint, and then the correction. So you got to have your 3 C's. What did the customer bring it in for? What did the technician find? And then what is it going to take to take care of the customer's concern?
So if you don't get all 3 pieces of that information, how easy is it? Can you adjudicate the claim?
Very difficult.
Right. So you're looking for all of that information, those 3 C's, cause, complaint, and cost, in order to really effectively negotiate or adjudicate that claim, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Without that, we're just sitting ducks, and we don't know where to go, from there.
What do you find most that is lacking when a advisor will send in or submit a claim? What do you find that's lacking of those 3 C's? What do you find lacking mostly?
It can vary sometimes, but I think what sums it up is communication. And then what I mean by that is, right, it's all about the strong relation that the technician has to the service writer, right? And then reiterating that to us, because if the technician is just well, it needs this or it needs that, right? Well, it's like the game of what it was, a telephone when you're a kid. You got to get that message clear across to 3 different channels, right? When I was a writer, tech would come up to me and say, this needs a catalytic converter, or this needs an engine. Okay, well, what happened? I don't know. It's just making noise. Thanks, guy. But I need a little bit more than that,
So you need that information. You need the cause, complaint, and cure for that. You talked about communication, and that's not always a verbal communication. Tell us how you, from a Head Start standpoint, how you work with several different service centers, service drives, and service centers across the country. How do you get that information from them? What is the best way in order for us, speaking as a service advisor, how is the best way to communicate that information to you?
The best way to communication is, one, on our side, for administration standpoint, the adjusters that we have on the field, we try to pick the best of knowledge. That's the first thing. And people think the reason for that is hey, we're going to deny claims, and that's what it is. In reality, is the flip side of things, right? We don't want the service writer who is actually really good or seasoned shop, and they're frustrating to let us know what's going on with something. What I say to the service writer on their side is, especially if you come from a dealership standpoint, okay? Because everybody knows if you work in a dealership, you're going to file something under that OEM's warranty, right? And that OEM administrator is probably a little old lady that lives up top in the office, and she will come down and smack you with that paper and said, you want me to flag 5 hours of diagnosis, you want me to flag this, and this, but I have no reason for it. So I tell this to writers and even people just in independence in general. Just make sure you have clarity. If an engine came in, okay, if a customer came in and says, hey, my engine's knocking, right? Okay. People call us and say, well, what do I do? What do I do? Everybody's a little different. Everybody does. Some admins are slightly different, but at the end of the day, the meat and potatoes of it, we still need to know the who, what, when, where, how. And I tell service writers, listen, I understand we have a mutual customer. It's not just your customer, right? The customers have to understand that they have to authorize diagnosis, right? And what that means is like you said, Terry, service contracts, exclusionaries, they're all a bunch of different coverages. Even under the OEM warranty, right? Ford, whatever make you have, it doesn't matter. Kia's 100,000-mile warranty, you still have to authorize the time to diagnose it correctly. And then from there, tell the story. If the engine got, it's knocking, okay, and there's a big external oil leak on there, well, what are the things you're going to tell me? Is, well, a spun bearing or something. Okay, great. You drop the pan. Yeah, we saw it. We cut the filter open. This. It's better to be upfront with the warranty company, because especially with major failures like that, Terry, or something along those lines, we will essentially send somebody or whatever it is. We got to make sure that everything makes sense, right? It's, well, how did you lose all the oil? I don't know. It was all not there. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had people call in and said, I don't know where the oil went. Well, that doesn't make sense to me as a tech. You're either burning it or you're losing it somewhere, right? So those are the things that I, kind of encounter, our team encounters on a regular basis is, again, back to the clear communication with your technician. And it's better to be upfront with people, especially with the warranty company, because again, what I tell people, and I'm sorry to go a little bit further, but it's one of those topics where make sure the customer understands at the beginning that this may not fall on them. It may or may not. Explain how it goes. Explain to like OEM warranty. And you don't want a dead bay. A dead bay in the shop is not productive. Technician that's not making his hours, right? Everybody knows you're some type of commission base. They're going to get upset. So then what happens is you're trying to fight on this customer and avoid the fact, let's say the customer's been driving this vehicle with no oil, the oil light's blasted, and every car make nowadays has some type of documentation in their ECM. So what I'm trying to get at is, listen, you got to be upfront, because then what's going to happen in situations is you're going to have a claim for 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks of nothing back and forth, when our guys are like, look, where did the oil go? And then we have an upset customer. So that's pretty much why I say communication's key into everything, because it's got to make sense.
What I hear you saying, Michael, is that what you're trying to do is put together a puzzle.
Yes.
And right now this puzzle has 500 pieces, whatever it has. One of the things, and I hate to draw back, one of the things that my dad always used to say was, what is the most important piece of a puzzle? And it's the picture on the box. Okay, without knowing what it's supposed to look like, we just can't build that puzzle. And that's what you're trying to do in this scenario, is you're trying to put this puzzle together. You're trying to put together, where did the oil go? What caused the knock? What's doing this? You're trying to put all these pieces together in this scenario in order to create the picture on the box, and in order to adjudicate that claim and get it paid. Just telling you that it's losing oil and it's going to cost $1,500 to fix doesn't give me enough of that picture. I'll get into the claims and the denial of claims and stuff here a little bit later. But I think that is the important part, is give me all the pieces of the puzzle and give me what the picture is supposed to look like, and I'll be able to make a good claim. Tell me how technology has aided in particular you at Head Start as an administrator, and maybe the industry as a whole. What has technology done for you and the claims team in order to help adjudicate these claims? Has it made it faster? Has it made it more complicated? How has technology helped you out, Michael?
You know, technology is great. And I really hope a lot of shops adapt to this, because if you want to run a business that's efficient, technology in your shop, I mean, when I stopped turning wrenches, I don't know, about 15 years ago professionally, and I wish that I had some of the stuff that I had today, borescopes and things of that nature. Um, Technology is just awesome. For us, we do virtual inspections. I'm going to use on our side, and then I'll also explain on maybe on the technician side, what can they use to help their lives a little bit better, right? On our side, it's all about getting that turnaround customer quick. Get them in, get them out, get them back on, right? We want to put everything back online to get this customer back down the road. Our reputation is based on it. So for us, we use, one, virtual inspections. A lot of the times you always hear, hey, we got to send an inspector 24 to 48 hours, depending on your regions, etc. It could be very far, whatever the situation is. Second thing too is one thing that I've been actually working significantly on is portals and digital claims processing. Nowadays, we know our smartphones. We can buy a house. I can get a mortgage for that house. I can get a realtor. I can get a mortgage, and I can get anything else that under the sun with my cell phone. So that's what we do a little different. Is I try to utilize and thinking in my brain when I was in drive, how can I effectively get this going? And one of the things we do is, again, our portal that we use, where you get real-time alerts for your cell phone. You can actually file a claim with your cell phone. A lot of service centers nowadays have tablets. You can use your tablets to file a claim with us, meaning you can write it up right there and then, put pictures, part numbers, etc. You can even send videos and pictures right through there, and that helps us adjudicate. That's on our side, right? Plus also the equipment that we use just on our main dealer portal system to just make things a lot faster for our adjusters. Now, on the technician side of things, there's just a weep of different tools that are out there. The first tool that somebody should have in their toolbox, it doesn't have to be the $500 Snap-on. It could be the $50 Amazon scope. I mean, if you don't have a borescope and you're an engine shop, I think you need to go buy one. Even if the owner doesn't want to buy one as a tech, I tell this to everybody. Yes, you are flat rate, but think about it. You're your own business, right? It's like you're franchising off the owner, right? Because you make flat rate hours. So when somebody comes to me and tells me, hey, I know, let's go back to that engine, Terry, we're talking about, where did the oil go? Okay, well, if I did a visual scan of that whole engine and I don't see a drip of oil somewhere, there's nothing underneath the car anywhere. Well, guess what? It's probably burning oil, right?
Right.
Go put a borescope in there and you read it, right? Just like you read a book. This is what you're trained for. You're looking for scoring in the cylinder walls. You're looking for carbon buildup. That's, instead of going and telling the customer, well, Mr. Customer, it's going to be 10 hours because the warranty does cover, messed up piston rings, right? They're broken piston rings, but it doesn't cover carbon, oil consumption. So now you're stuck in a rock and a hard place. Do you want a dead bay for 10 hours and the possibility that the customer may or may not be able to go move forward with the job? A borescope, a $50 camera, taking a spark plug out, which is 10 seconds, dump it in there, examine it, do what you need to do. Some of these can take pictures. Heck, Terry, some of these can actually use your cell phone. So that's what I mean by is technology is great. And then also the scan tools. Way back in the days, you had scan tools that it had to go to the OEM, right? And some car mates are still there depending on what you need to get done, like reprogramming, etc. That is where you want to get great information, especially if you're going to be dealing with warranty companies and stuff, or even then just showing your customer, right? You can print things out. You can show timestamps when codes happened. You can see so much data nowadays, even on the performance side. Like for our guys, right? If I get a claim on an STI or I get a claim on, an Audi RS3 that I'm known for, hey, having all this stuff, the first thing that I'm going to ask them is, hey, can I get the ECU code from the computer? Because you can tell if it's been updated or programmed, right? So that's what I mean on the tech side of things is use technology to your benefit. You don't want a dead bay with 10 hours down and then wondering when you're going to get this job done, when it's going to get approved. It's in, out, efficient. And now you can actually drive that car out of your bay, wait for the claim to go through, and you can start working on the next job.
So it's a help me, help you type of scenario.
100%.
It's like, look, get me the information. We're gonna mess around here for 10 hours, or you in 10 seconds can tell me what's going on, and we can either approve or deny the claim. We're gonna move on from there as to whatever. We're gonna have to be able to make a decision on this thing. But at some point, I need this information, and the faster you get it to me, the more technology that you use in order to get it to me, whether it be iPads, cell phones, or other tools, the faster you get me that information, the faster I'm going to get you an approval, and the faster you're going to get this customer out, and the faster you're going to get your new customer in so that you can start making more money. Because you're only going to pay anyway. So I like that scenario to help me help you.
It really is. And, I tell this to shops all the time. I say, look, man, I understand. Don't think about it as that they're your customer. I understand that people sometimes have this way of warranty or OEM warranty or whatever, right? You can go file a claim with Kia right now, and I can assure you their 100,000-mile warranty, they're very strict about their maintenance and, the abuse and stuff like that. Same way applies with the warranty industry, like extended warranty. If you have a car, right? And these cars, again, nowadays, it doesn't matter if it's the cheapest car on the lot or the most expensive. It's going to warn you somehow, some way. I can't tell you how many claims have come across my desk where a simple thermostat or a water pump or a simple hose has been leaking for such a long time. The customer's overheated the car to the point that it's just completely done. I tell riders this. Again, it goes back to our first topic, Terry. What was the customer's concern? What did you guys find, and what's the correction? Because if you hide the fact that I have a previous claim for a water pump, right, and now the customer's back 200 miles and I'm asking you about the overheats and stuff and everything like that, well, A, makes sense. The car's just not going to certainly overheat on its own after this, right? Don't get me wrong. You have situations where some manufacturers do have some bad defects. We could talk about the EcoBoost motor all day, every day. But the facts are the facts, right? If you have a car that you did some type of coolant service and now the customer has a engine that's warped beyond belief, you do a block test, which is, again, another $10 to $20 tool, right. Put it on the coolant, boom, you see there's combustion gas on there. You pull up the history and you pull up the last time the temperature went on that car. It says 245 or 250. Unfortunately, the customer has cooked this engine. So
the 72 Ford Ranchero didn't have all this technology. You didn't know what had happened. But with the cars we have today, we can tell pretty much what's happened over the past 6 weeks, 6 months, even years in some cases. We can get a history. We can see where this thing is evolving to. So go ahead and share that information with me. It's different today than it has ever been in the past. Moving on a little bit forward, kind of in the same vein, but let me ask you this question. Are you in the business of denying claims? Do you make a bigger commission by denying claims and saving that company some money? Is that what your role is there, Michael?
I can assure you I still drive a 2009 Nissan Titan with 200,000 miles. And also I have a 2002 Infiniti G20 with 200,000 miles. No. That's not the case. We do not own any type of commissions or anything else like that. The reality is the flip side. We're in the business of buying claims because at the end of the day, if we deny every single thing that comes in through the door, we won't be here. I mean, that's just the reality because there's a lot to this and the science of it. I'm going to go back to what I originally said to you, Terry. Especially my side, when I've worked in claims management leads and I was in the process of helping hiring people, the first thing I would have is a checklist. And what that checklist is I'm going to sit you and hit you with questions about diagnostics. You can tell me you're a master certified tech, right? You probably, took somebody's ASCs and, printed your name on it, whatever, which I'm going to find out anyway, because I go in a database. But my point is that I want to test that person's knowledge for the simple fact is when the call comes in, we want to make sure we can ask the proper questions. Again, I'm going to stress it's not about denying the claim, right? If that's the case, you'll call in and have somebody that has no knowledge of nothing and what it is. I can assure you, call into a company that doesn't have no type of knowledge, and you have something we call in the industry like a mirror fogger, Terry, be honest, that company's probably just looking to just sit there and deny a claim, because all they're doing is getting data, shuffling it over to somebody else, and that's it. We're in the business of buying claims. You know, Joe's probably going to smack me in the back later on, but it's the truth. We don't make commission off of this. Believe me when I tell you that's not the case. We're in the business of buying claims. We just go by the terms and conditions of those contracts, just like the OEM was. Just when you buy your car, Ford, whatever, they're going to go by their warranty on there. We go the same way.
So in that light, and I asked that question kind of tongue in cheek, because I know, in knowing the answer, I know that you're not there to deny claims, but you are there to validate that a claim is a legitimate claim. I know in your experience over the years, you probably ran into situations where it's like, this claim doesn't pass the smell test in any way, shape, or form. This doesn't make sense. I know I'm being put together here. And that's not good for your reinsurance pool either, or not good for your reinsurance pool. And I've known of administrators that have actually gone under by just paying claims. They pay claims. And then when the legitimate ones come in, there's not enough money in order to pay those claims, and those companies go out of business. So your point is well taken, is that you're not there to deny claims. You're there to make sure that, in the way that you put it, and to buy claims. But you also want to make sure that they're valid claims, because you want to make sure that there is a pool of funds there for the legitimate claims that do come in. So I appreciate that piece of it. The last question that I want to, and then I'll move on to some of the myths in the industry. But let's talk about the referee. We sometimes have to send a referee out. I hear that from you guys on that side. And tell me a little bit why there's a referee, why this industry, or why what necessitates a referee. Why can't you and the service advisor, why do we need a third party to jump into the middle of this situation and tell us what's going on?
And that's a great question. I'm always going to stick to my guns and say communication, Terry. And honestly, again, with the technology that we've had, we've seen a little bit of a decrease now. Our director for Head Start, we've seen a decrease. We still have to inspect on certain aspects of certain things, but it's really about the communication piece. Again, if we're getting everything together, it's making sure the pieces of the puzzle fit correctly, right? And then there's other situations where, nowadays it doesn't matter what type of car you have. Parts are getting expensive. That's another takeaway that I'm going to say to the service writers that are listening to it. See your options out there. We just had a store the other day I came across. They called in for a transmission, and it was $10,000 for a transmission. A brand spanking new transmission, where we have remands for $5,000, $4,000. What I mean by that is, because the more money a claim is, in some cases, I won't be able to, just accept pictures or video that is timestamped, that I do have to send out a referee just to see exactly what's going on. And to be clear, the referee is not there to say yay, nay, or anything like that. You got to understand, if you're calling me from Wisconsin and my admin's company is in Chicago, or I'm down in Florida, or wherever I'm at, I can't physically go there and take a look at. So I'm just a big stickler about communication. Some escalations that I've got into when I was a service manager or a claims manager was been clarity. What happened to this engine? I put people into the corner. I said, look, man, the numbers aren't jiving. Okay. Mm-hmm. So based on what you're telling me, and again, you got to realize I've been out of the industry for 15 years, physically turning wrenches. I try to update and learn like we do our team here, but there might be something that they experienced that we haven't caught up yet. Right. I'm like, help me understand this situation. Right. Mike, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense why you have 4 different concerns. Right. Again, and then every situation is just, again, very different. If there's multiple concerns, let's say on suspension is usually the big one. You'll get, struts, you'll get control arms, you'll get ball joints, you'll get tie rods. And at the end of the day, you ask these guys before you put everything in, what's failed and what are you recommending, right? Is it going to fix the customer's concern, or we're just recommending it due to time and miles? Again, clarity. So if we get that clarity, and also I said part sourcing, right? That brings up the price a lot in claims where we do have to bring a referee. And that could be also for many reasons. One, internal policies by ourselves and say, look, anything $5,000 more, we have to do that. Or we have an insured that says, hey, we have to pull audits or something. They want to see inspections. It just depends on really the scenario. But again, that's why I go back to being clear about make sure your communication's clear. Make sure that you do part shop. I understand you have vendors that you deal with, but you guys got to realize, are you going to take this? I've seen literally a $10,000 ticket for a transmission on a certain car. Think about it. Would you take this ticket to a customer that came in that their tires are completely balled out, or maybe somebody is struggling a little bit, or whatever the situation is? One of the things that made my shop successful is, look, I have a plan A for you. I have a plan B for you. I have a plan C for you. This gives you a 12-month warranty and it can get you by. Are you thinking about possibly keeping the car? You know, plan B might be the reman option. Hey, I'm Mike, I want to keep this car, so I want to invest in something a little bit more. Great, perfect. And then plan C might be this. So that's what I mean. Help us by helping your customer. And it starts by helping your customer first, understanding your customer, because when you relay that information to the warranty company, this quote unquote referee may not have to go out. Does that make sense, Terry?
It does, man. You're giving the same options to the administrator as you would to the customer. There's really no
100%.
There's no reason to put lipstick on a pig here in a situation. Why put, if we're going to keep the car for 6 months and it's falling apart, why are we going to put a brand new transmission into it? That's not to say that the customer doesn't deserve it, the warranty doesn't deserve it, but still, we're putting the lipstick on the pig situation. And no, let's give me an option here that I can work with to make everybody have a win-win-win situation. We want the customer taken care of. Don't get me wrong. 100%. Of course. He deserves everything that he's entitled to through that service contract, but we want to make sure that it's fair for everybody and everybody involved. Want to move on to a couple of things that, number one, what the customer hears. I'm not going to say what the F&I department said, but I'm going to say what the customer heard when he left. Myth number one, all repairs are covered.
It's a myth. I always tell them this. I said, listen, does the OEM warranty cover every single situation? Right? And I mean, mechanically wise, great. But if you go in there and your ABS module has been chewed by a raccoon, I can assure you that's not going to be covered.
Myth number two, I can go to any, is myth or not a myth? I can go to any repair shop I want.
Well, with us, you can. So I would say yes, not necessarily a myth. But we also have people that we link up with that we prefer you guys to go to, for the simple fact is because, again, kind of like what we talked about before, Terry, taking care of the customer, might have a little bit more leeway with them speaking about different scenarios or whatever. So I'm going to say not a myth, but at least with us, you have options to do both.
So basically what you're saying, though, is it goes back to our Ford Ranchero incident, is that you can go to any ASC certified mechanic, but having your neighbor across the street work on it for you and then sending me in parts and labor costs is probably not going to work.
Well, let me rephrase back on my previous statement. It's got to be a licensed repair facility. We can't have Billy Bob down the road and just take care of it and give you the taillight warranty. It's got to be a licensed repair facility.
But Billy Bob, he does a nice job, man.
He does it cheap, but listen, you pay with time or you pay with money. One of the two.
Any repair done paid for by a 12-pack is probably not the best way to do it. Let's go with myth or not a myth. Pre-existing conditions are covered.
It is not a myth. I mean, pre-existing conditions unfortunately do exist for a variation of reasons. And I know there's probably writers right now and dealers like, oh, Mike, what are you talking about? Look, I'm a technician, okay? I was. I'm not going to sit here and, put my hands up on here. But what I mean by that is there are scenarios. Look, there are just like anybody else. There's great dealerships that know the business and just want to keep a great rapport about the customer. And it comes back down to that customer, right? I got dealers where they're like, yeah, no, Mike, we try to do this. We test drive it and everything. What I mean by me being a technician is there's sometimes you are going to miss something. It happens. Okay. Not for the simple fact that you're overworked or anything like that. Is that sometimes these symptoms may not be there. Right. But the fact of the matter is, if we have, you test drive a car and we got a claim for 200 miles down the road and you're telling me the internal clutches on the things going out, I can't tell you look, man, that's 200 miles on a clutch that's wearing. You know what I mean? We're not talking about an electrical item or something like that. So pre-existing conditions are a real thing, just different scenarios.
Got it. Let's go with this one. Can I file a claim after the repair?
That is going to be no go. No. That's a you don't want to do that
up front, right?
You got to get all the information up front. Same thing like, your house insurance. If we right now currently in New Jersey where I'm staying at, we just had some severe flooding down here. You can't go fix your house and then expect the insurance company, hey, by the way, I paid $50,000. Here's my, send me whatever. We got to get the data. So.
And the last one is a denied claim means that the whole contract is useless.
That is false. That is not something that a denied claim means that the contract is useless. I'm always a big stickler on what I come back to, and I've probably said it 5 times in this conversation. Think about what the OEM warranty applies. I understand that the OEM warranty is the OEM warranty, right? I get that. But at the end of the day, it's per those T's and C's of what we're going to administrate the contract. I go back to, if you have an ABS module, you have 10,000 miles, technicians that are on this call or service writers that used to be on that call, that used to be there, they know that you've seen cars with 5,000 miles and you're like, what had happened to this car, right? So that's pretty much my answer to that.
And that takes us to the end of the myth list that I have here. What I want to give you, Michael, is kind of an opportunity here to summarize, maybe share some thoughts on some things that questions I didn't cover. To give you a few minutes here in order to kind of wrap up where your thoughts are and what your takeaway from today is.
My takeaway from today is the warranty business. I get it. I understand. We are in businesses. I think this is what kind of gets to me, right? You got plumbers, you got electricians out there, you have trades out there. And guys, I'm on your side. Believe me when I tell you, I hear you. I've been there. Nobody would blink an eye to give the electrician $200 to diagnose their house because there's no AC. But when it comes to a car, they're like, well, dude, you can't just put it up the computer and let me know what it is. Unfortunately not, and that's where the biggest trade where people are just so apprehensive about different things and saying, well, isn't it just boom, bam, and done? The warranty business is growing. And as technology is growing, these cars are getting more complex to people. My biggest thing for everybody that's listening, customers, service writers, and things of that nature is keep an open mind. Okay. Certain things on their warranty are going to be eligible for coverage. Ask the right questions. You have Google. I mean, Google's your friend. If it says something on there like, what's this part, or I have questions, ask, right? Make sure you have something just like a little nest egg behind the scenes to help you out, because you never know what the situations are going to be. Every warranty is a little bit different. Everyone covers a little bit more higher in labor. Make sure you ask the questions. Maybe even call the administrator up. Hey, I'm looking to get this. What do we do? What's this? What's that? This industry is evolving, and just like the service drive is evolving with sending their teams to schooling and updating themselves on equipment, we got to do the same with our team. You got to do that because we want to be prepared for those tough questions. EV market, hybrids. I know we can sit here all day talk about EVs, but it's a world that's coming. Hybrids are coming, and there's going to be a lot more different technology in there. So educate yourself, especially if you're a shop owner, an independent owner. Make sure you go online, try to find any type of classes or any type of podcast, whatever, and educate yourself about the future. Keep in mind the newsletters that are coming out from the OEM about new technology, and think about what your future is going to be 15 to 20 years from now, and on the warranty side of things, we got to do the same. We have to keep up with what's coming up in the technology space.
And I appreciate that. Based on the info, so I want to talk about that newsletter. Connex has a newsletter that's as it comes out. I think the next episode of that newsletter comes out on the 23rd of this month. Comes out next week. Call has more information on that. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter, it goes into 3 areas. Basically, it talks about technology, it talks about warranties, and how what you can do in order to increase sales at your shop through leases, through this. There's a lot of great information in there for how you can increase your business on that. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter, drop us an email, and we're more than happy to add you to that list. But Michael, based on the information of what I'm seeing in the chat, based on the heart emojis and based on the hand claps, excellent job today. Really appreciate the depth of which you covered most of these items here today. I told you I'd keep it short and sweet, get you out of here in 45 minutes. We made that piece for you. So I can't thank you enough for taking the opportunity to come in today and bringing Rob with you as well. Everybody that's on the call, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening, and love it. Appreciate it, Michael.
Hey, Terry, this was a blast, man. I enjoy this. I think this is a great idea what you're doing here. So I appreciate you reaching out to me, and I'm happy to do any more. So get some great ideas. This is awesome.
Good deal. Thanks, Michael.
Take care, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.